was brought down in 2014 over Ukraine by a missile fired by pro-Russian fighters. A U.S. official telling NBC News there are early indications the craft may have been hit by a Russian anti-aircraft system, adding more evidence of Russian recklessness in the war with Ukraine. The Kremlin responding that it would be incorrect to make any hypothesis before the investigation comes to conclusions. Meanwhile, a day of mourning in Azerbaijan, red roses laid for the fallen.
NBC's Steve Patterson with that report. President Biden and his aides say they strengthened key U.S. alliances during his presidential term, but they also courted leaders who undermined the power and standing of the United States across the world. Now, that is according to a New York Times piece that analyzes America's alliances under Biden and how his administration was caught by surprise when partners like South Korea and Israel have acted against U.S. interests. As the Times notes, serious problems emerged with leaders in Afghanistan, Israel, South Korea, and the United Arab Emirates. In each case, Mr. Biden and his aides were caught by surprise and then stayed quiet when those leaders failed in their roles or rejected policy suggestions and diplomatic efforts by the Americans. Mr. Biden's unwavering public support of an Israel led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as it wages a deadly war against Hamas in Gaza has been especially costly in terms of American and global public opinion. The Times goes on to read, the partnerships that Mr. Biden promoted not only during his presidency, but throughout his political career could prove unable to withstand new challenges during a second Trump administration. But recent events have shown that the alliances were always shakier and more contentious than the vision painted by Mr. Biden and other proponents in Washington. A new report in the Washington Post reveals a growing number of low-income Americans who voted for Donald Trump. Well, they say they are hoping he won't slash the government benefits that they depend on. Many are concerned about the president keeping their benefits intact after several of his cabinet picks and Republican lawmakers have called on Trump to reduce federal spending. That includes Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, who are leading the new Department of Government Efficiency. The Washington Post points out that the two have said they want to cut $2 trillion from the government's annual budget. Some experts say the only way that can be accomplished is by slashing entitlement programs. And it's not just low income Trump supporters on edge. Politico has a new report that California farmers, yes, who voted for Trump are now worried he could deport half of their workers. Quote, California farmers could soon enjoy bumper crops thanks to President-elect Donald Trump's pledge to lift water restrictions. But who will pick them if he follows through on his deportation threats? At the same time, the Wall Street Journal is out with a new report about the U.S. car industry having a big case of anxiety about the president-elect's proposed 25% tariff on imports from Mexico and Canada. The Journal points out, quote, finding an affordable car in the U.S. has already become a challenge for many budget-constrained Americans. New import tariffs on Mexican-built vehicles threaten to make the problem worse. Let's bring in Republican strategist and MSNBC political analyst Susan Del Percio to discuss. Susan, okay, you heard it all. So basically, we're starting to see certain groups of people who voted for Trump now having some second thoughts. How concerned should any of these folks be about the potential for major entitlement cuts, mass deportations, and even tariffs?
Well, they should be concerned, but again, I think it's going to take a long time for some of, when I say a long time, at least a year or two for some of Trump's policies to actually be fully implemented. For example, when we talk about the idea of a mass deportation, Trump's own appointed border czar had said just recently in the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post, that they're going to do it in stages. They're going to go after the criminals first. They need to get funding. Things are going to take time. Again, when it comes to voters having a little bit of potential remorse, I honestly don't understand why. We've had 8 years of Donald Trump saying exactly these things and what he was going to do. He did make a promise not to cut Social Security, so I think that may be an internal debate within the DOJ recommendations, if you will. But that's all it's going to be. It's not a government function. They can only make recommendations. And the tariffs are a big point of concern. But again, Trump uses those threats as a negotiation tool. We have to see what he actually does. Yes, everyone should be on edge because we never know what Trump is going to say and what path he's going to take. Like, who knew Panama? The Panama Canal was just going to come up. I think it's because he had dinner with someone recently at Mar-a-Lago that the issue came up, but you never know. He's just going to be, it's too hard to track exactly what he's going to do, so we need to see his plans and then adjust.
Yes, and according to some reports, NBC News has not independently verified, but there's something going on with Donald Trump's empire, his companies, and taxes in Panama, which probably prompted the thoughts about the Panama Canal. You know, look, the president-elect, he made many, many promises on the campaign trail, specifically to lower prices and grow the economy. In a recent interview with Time magazine, though, the president-elect noted that he might not be able to bring down grocery prices, for example. So how long do you think that voters who supported the president-elect will give him to bring down the prices? Because the clock does start ticking on Inauguration Day on January 20th.
They're going to start judging him right away. We've seen some recent polling that the people are not happy with the direction of the economy. They were starting to perk up once Donald Trump was reelected. But Trump has made the same mistake, frankly, that Joe Biden did with the Inflation Reduction Act. Reducing inflation does not mean reducing prices. Prices tend to stay where they are. It's just the buying power when it comes to inflation going down that makes it more affordable to families. So Donald Trump was right to lower expectations on prices. People are going to continue to be upset about it. And if the threats on tariffs actually go through because he doesn't get the response he wants from Canada and Panama and China and Mexico, that's going to be a huge hit to people's wallets. And if there's not workers to do the farming, guess what? Prices are going to go up further. So Trump does care a lot about his poll numbers, and I think that's what he'll be watching to make decisions. The other side of that is, Simone, I really, truly believe that Donald Trump is going to use his second term in office to make himself wealthier. I think this is all about him hitting maybe $50 billion, $100 billion mark. It's all about money for him. So he's willing to take some hits in the polling if it means, making himself financially wealthier.
You know, Susan, I hate to ask people to make predictions, but if you had to predict one or two things that Donald Trump would accomplish in his first 100 days in office this time around, what would they be?
First, I think he will, unfortunately, pardon the January 6th rioters, those criminals, those who've been convicted. The second is, I think he will probably get, at least be on track to get his tax cuts.
I think both of those predictions are going to hold up well, and we will be watching. Republican strategist and MSNBC political analyst Susan Del Percio. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Still ahead, President-elect Trump's incoming border czar is providing new details about his incoming administration's approach to immigration, saying the use of family detention centers is, quote-unquote, on the table. We will show you his remarks and what they could mean for U.S. immigration policy. Plus, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley is criticizing her former Republican primary opponent, Vivek Ramaswamy, all about comments he made about American culture. Those stories and a check on sports and weather when we come right back.
At Lisa, we're different from others.
I knew that I wanted to get help immediately. I was going to be able to see a therapist within that same week.
I am just so much more like in tune with myself after just being able to talk to my therapist. She's dope.
There's so much ease with using BetterHelp. Now I feel so much more confident in expressing myself, and that's been a great gift for me.
Slotomania, the #1 free slots game, presents straight from the Vegas casino floors to your phone. The iconic Cleopatra 2 slot, featuring wild Cleopatra symbols that give you double. Enjoy the exciting multiplier that increases on every free spin. for massive wins. Adding to Slotomania's variety of free slots and huge jackpots. Download Slotomania now and start 2025 with 25 free spins.
I'm Aches.
And I'm Pains.
And we keep you up at night because we're
Aches and Pains.
You think you're sore in the morning because of your age?
You don't hurt because you're old. You hurt because your mattress stinks, which makes our job a lot easier. Oh, that's gonna hurt in the morning.
Purple is proven to help you rise refreshed, which is awful.
For us, it's very good news for you.
Do not go to purple.com.
Do not visit a Purple store.
The way I describe it is I want to create the most personalized and immersive journey for our customers from the time they think about traveling to the very next time they think about traveling and all things in between. The day of travel, your in-airport and in-flight experience, your post-flight experience, and quite frankly, non-traveling. But it's that idea that I'm going to create something that is complementary and enhancing to your trip and do it in a very personalized manner. Our model is based on the traveler, their journey, the experience. Not just a very vanilla spread of here's our flight fare and here's a sale on whatever. Rather, it is meant to be personalized to say, we know that these are your preferences and we want to show you opportunities that complement those preferences. And it creates convenience, and that's the important piece.
Go beyond the headlines with the MSNBC app. Read, listen, and watch live breaking news and analysis anytime, anywhere. Go beyond the what to understand the why. Download.
Former rival presidential candidates Nikki Haley and Vivek Ramaswamy, they had a clash on social media yesterday after Ramaswamy published a lengthy post on American workers. In the post, Ramaswamy explained why he feels that tech companies choose to hire foreign workers over Americans. He boiled it all down to culture. He wrote in part, quote, "Our American culture has venerated mediocrity over excellence for way too long. That doesn't start in college, it starts young. A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers." He continued, "Trump's election hopefully marks the beginning of a new golden era in America, but only if our culture fully wakes up. A culture that once again prioritizes achievement over normalcy, excellence over mediocrity, nerdiness over conformity, hard work over laziness." Well, Nikki Haley took offense to the post, directly quoting it with her rebuttal. She wrote, "There's nothing wrong with American workers or American culture. All you have to do is look at the border and see how many want what we have. We should be investing and prioritizing in Americans, not foreign workers." Author and former presidential hopeful Marianne Williamson has launched a campaign to become the next chair of the Democratic National Committee. In an open letter to DNC membership, Williamson says the party needs to understand the emotional force of presidential-elect Donald Trump's appeal and, quote, create the energy to counter it. Williamson also posted a video announcing her candidacy.
I'm announcing I'm running for DNC chair because I feel that I can bring a level of expertise to the process of lifting up this possibility of victory over the next 2 and 4 years in a way that will not occur if we are only looking traditional means of politicking in order to make that happen.
Williamson is the latest candidate